when I was researching, this is going to make me giggle because I don't know, I'm like a child. I learned of a new term called vulva owners.
Yes.
Run me through what this is and what it means for the broader context of the human sexual experience right now.
You don't have to include this, but what do you think it is?
Oh, God. I only learnt about it yesterday, so I haven't really had too much time to think about it.
Well, I'll give you what it would be for yourself. You're a penis owner. Yeah. You have a penis. Wow. What would a vulva owner be?
Before we get into it, I'd like to chat about today's sponsor, Vitadrop. I've been using the Vitadrop sleep product for about a year now, and it absolutely blew me away the first time I used it. I looked at my sleep tracker and it had a 30% increase in my REM sleep. I'm somebody who spends a lot of time trying to optimize my sleep, and I'd never seen anything like that have a significant impact as it did. I remember messaging the co-founder, podcast guest, as well as a good friend of mine, Charlie, about it the next day, completely blown away. And then I've also shared this information with a number of people who have come back extremely surprised and very impressed with how much better they've slept once they've taken that sleep product. So they have 4 different products for 4 different day-to-day experiences, one of them being sleep, the next one being hydration, the third one being focus, and the fourth one being a collagen supplement. You can grab them both in ready to drink and in sachets that you mix with water. So if you're interested, use the code TOT in the description below to get 25% off your next order. Chantelle.
Hi.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
How are we feeling today?
I feel really good.
Good.
I'm excited to be here. I slept in today, so I'm really happy. I needed it.
Got the energy.
Yeah, I needed
it. Got the Vitadrop.
Got my Vitadrop. I'm ready to roll. Seen some friends. It's been great.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I just wanted to let kind of the listeners know how we met. So I've met you a couple of times through mutual friends, and you've always had an amazing energy about you. So I really, really like that. You're very warm, you're very open, and it shines through. So it's a really nice
thank you.
Way of navigating that. Oh, thank you. I just wanted to get that out of the way.
You're like a big teddy bear. I love seeing you. You're like comfortable.
Golden retriever.
Not at all. No. You know what? I actually don't love that term because I think I just love people who are warm and have a lot of love to give. I think the term golden retriever, I was actually talking about this yesterday, is a bit offensive.
Why is that?
I don't know. I just feel like, I mean, obviously dogs are great and golden retrievers are great, but I feel like I've heard people use it in more of a condescending way, and I don't like that.
Fair enough.
I don't like that. I think we have to be nice to people.
Fair enough. Well, I take it as a massive compliment.
You do?
I have a golden retriever, and he's the cutest thing in the world, and he makes friends like you would not believe.
So maybe I just need to hang around people
better golden
like
retrievers.
You. Yeah. I think because I'm a therapist, sometimes I'll hear my patients be a little bit like
offended.
Oh yeah, it's he's like a golden retriever, or my best friend's a golden retriever, and I'm like,
yeah. Is that a
what
bad
else
thing?
are they? Yeah, what else are they? What good things do they do as part of that package, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, you're teaching me new things.
We're always learning.
Yeah.
And that's the point of this podcast as well. So to get new ideas and learn. So let's get into it. What's the context of your early years that would allow us to understand you? Because your early years shape you as a person, and your life is quite unique. So it'd be interesting to kind of understand how we got here.
That's such a good question. I actually never get asked that question. So I am one of 4 kids. I've got 2 amazing parents. We grew up in Melbourne, and I guess my parents raised us. I've got an older sister. She's 11 months older. She's intellectually disabled, and we thought we were twins until prep. So that's when they realised that she had an intellectual disability, and she went to a different school, which was very different for me because I was so introverted. I actually didn't speak to people when I was younger. And then when she wasn't there to speak for me, then I had to learn how to make friends, and I didn't have any friends. I was bullied, out, weird. I was the girl reading books, not really talking to people, which was fine. I just didn't need to.
Yeah.
And I think because I'm a sexologist and because I'm also such a friendly person, people expect me to be extroverted, but I am introverted. My recharge time is by myself.
Yeah.
My 2 younger brothers are amazing, and we have a really close-knit family. My parents are Dutch as well. And we weren't allowed to watch TV. Like, we grew up like riding motorbikes or playing in the backyard or in the park. We were allowed to like climb the roof of our house. Like, we have a 3-story house. It was a bit dangerous, but
sounds like a much better life than chucking somebody on an iPad or a TV.
Yeah, exactly. We learned how to like keep ourselves company. And I think that my parents did a lot of volunteer work, and they helped a lot of people. Like, they built schools and like women's shelters in Papua New Guinea. So my whole life has been caring for others, like whether it be my sister, or I was my grandma's carer when she had dementia, or like other people. It's just how I grew up. My whole family, has always cared for other people. And I'm very grateful that I was able to be part of that growing up, because I really see it as the most rewarding thing. Yeah.
So I'm conscious of not getting into definitions too much, but briefly, how does a sexologist help
others? Yeah. I mean, everyone's going to have a sexual problem or question or like curiosity at some point.
Yeah.
My background's in psychology, and then sexology I studied after that. So I work with the biggest sexual organ, which is the brain. So I help, solve people's problems, like a sex detective. I figure out why there's a question. Yes, I'm a sex detective. Why is there a question, or why is there a problem? And it sounds kind of basic. I think people think I'm just, suggesting how to have more fun and better sex, but it's actually quite complex. I work from a biopsychosocial model, so biology, your body, psychology, your brain, and then sociocultural, what's happening around you, your interpersonal relationships. And that's challenging, that not everyone is able to put all the pieces of the puzzle together themselves, and so they come to me to help them do that.
Okay. So with you said biopsychosocial. Biopsychosocial. So where do you begin?
We begin by gathering as much information as possible. So everyone who comes to see me in my clinic, they get a questionnaire, and I learn about what medications they're on. Do they have any traumas? How many sexual partners do they have currently, previously? What do they identify with in terms of gender orientation? Any traumas, any sexual pain or concerns? Medications and how they interact with those conditions as well. And I think it's like I need to have like a 360 view of what's happening for them before I can even, discuss with them why there might be some concerns. And the first few sessions are always just discovery. I want to learn as much as possible about that person. But I'm pretty good at my job. It's like
get it down,
good.
down to a fine science for sure.
I have the knack for sure.
That's good. And I'd like to dig into the trauma side a little bit, because I don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong based on your experience, but have you found that sexual preferences partially tie into trauma responses?
I mean, trauma can be a multitude of different things. It doesn't have to be something that's caused by another person. It can even just be a way that you felt during sex. Or it can be maybe you were told that sex is meant to be painful, first time, or, ongoing, and you might be having these experiences that are painful that you think are meant to be right. And sex isn't meant to be painful. So that can be also traumatic in itself. It might not be super distressing for you, or it might be, but it's the way that your body feels, right? So it's really anything that can trigger you and feel like a string that pulls you back into a situation or a feeling or a narrative that makes you feel uncomfortable.
Okay. Just on a specific basis, and the reason why I ask is just to be open about it. When I was younger, I was in a very religious family. And as I've moved away from that, I've felt this somewhat shame around sex personally. And it's been something I've had to work through quite a lot. So just using that as my frame of thinking, I wonder if like other people have, you know, certain upbringings that then turn into certain preferences because of those upbringings. And then some of them are healthy, some of them are not healthy.
What do you think would be not healthy?
Well, I don't think there needs to be shame around sex generally. I think there's a way to navigate it respectfully and consider it. But yeah, there was like an embarrassment and an unwillingness to talk about what I wanted and my preferences for a very long time until I had a partner that was like, let's fucking go. I was like, wait, what? This is okay?
Talk to me.
Yeah. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And religion plays a huge role.
Yeah.
You know, that's part of the sociocultural aspect of sexuality. How did you learn about sex?
Yeah.
What were you taught is okay and what's not okay?
Yeah.
I also went to Catholic schools. So I didn't have any sex ed in school. And of course it was like sex after marriage, you know, be safe. Like also like don't be a slut. I mean, I'm a woman. That's like a huge narrative that we learned, like be conservative.
Yeah.
And a huge part of my work is working with people who have gone through different religious upbringings and teaching them how to have shame-free, pain-free, pleasurable sex.
Yeah. I'm definitely wrestling with the conservatism versus liberalism around sex at the moment. I'm really struggling to find my footing on it because I've gone from both extremes. And do you think
talk about like people the opposite spectrum to what you learned, do you mean people talking extremely openly or being very adventurous with it?
Yeah, potentially. And more so just whether there is any value in the conservative approach to sex or whether it is just from your experience full of landmines and nothing positive.
Cracked my neck just then. Look, I think that anyone telling you how you should be is not something that I appreciate.
Yeah.
I think that you can learn from everything, but I think a conservative view of sex where there is shame involved is not really the healthiest. But I also think like people who are pushing their more liberal views of sex on people as well is not the way to go. I don't think anyone should be told how they should be doing things.
Yeah.
You know, definitely finding your way and feeling safe enough to explore is probably what I would be leaning towards as the right way. Creating a safe space for someone to be themselves and creating a safe space for yourself to express what you want to do and how you want to do that and work with another person to be a team along that journey is the best way to go.
Yeah, okay. And do you think there's a non-shameful... Do you think shame and conservatism are tied inextricably because of the way it comes through religion?
I think there's a lot of people who can be very conservative who aren't ashamed of that.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are the loudest, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think they have to be intertwined.
Yeah, okay.
It's more when you're trying to break out of that, then the shame comes through.
Yeah. I've noticed from again, the people that I knew from my time in the very like religious upbringing, a lot of them now have rejected that and they go so far down the other end of the spectrum. It's like a rebounding effect that I was over here, but as a rejection of this, I'm going to go so far over here, neither of which are healthy.
Do you think that the people who've gone the other way, they're also very loud with their views on how sex should be? Or do you think that they're okay with just going, this is what I want?
Yeah, I think they
So
don't
then
actually
that's
know
okay.
about it consciously. I think that they're just reacting and they're just living a reaction more than...
Well, I think it's okay if they want to. Look, I think sex is what you make it, right?
Yeah.
If you're having a good time and you're, having fun and you're not harming anyone, then that's great.
Yeah.
So I don't have a problem with people going the extreme opposite way. I mean, gosh, I think a kink and like exploring and being adventurous is really amazing too. I just don't believe in pushing your ideals onto someone.
Yeah, definitely. And people seem to love doing that these days. In every camp, there's a lot of ideology being pushed. I think our generation, how old are you?
33.
Okay, I'm 31. I feel like our generation has come up in the world in a way where we've had to kind of question all of the ideals that we were previously given, because a lot of them aren't necessarily working for the world that we're in now.
Yeah.
Which is a tough place to be, because, previously, and I don't mean to press on religion, I just, it's in my head
It's
at the
your
moment.
topic. Yeah.
Well, it's in my head at the moment because I just came from a wedding, and they're two very Catholic people, and they met and they were super conservative. They met, they connected, and they were married in 2 years. And I was like, and she's my age. And I thought a bit younger, and I thought to myself, wow, that's really interesting that there was no other distractions in their world. They connected. There was no noise. They were like, this works. This is great. It built, and it led to like marriage very quickly in ways that you don't necessarily hear much anymore.
I've been married and divorced already.
Okay.
Yeah, I got married when I was 25 and divorced when I was, 20. I separated at 27.
Okay.
And that wasn't because of religion. That was because of love.
Okay.
So I think that, is it because of religion that they got married so quickly, or is it because they were in love?
Well, I don't know.
They just wanted to do that. So we
I
can't
don't
tie.
know.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's my job, to find out why people behave the way that they are. You have to study people and you have to ask the questions.
Yeah.
We can't necessarily tie, the most basic, obvious reason to every single person's narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think exploring that a little bit further, I think, and these are just ideas that I'm fleshing out in my head as we go.
I think it's your inner narrative that's putting the pieces of the puzzle together. You have an internal bias, right?
Yeah.
And your bias is telling you why people behave the way they behave without actually figuring out the way they behave necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely playing a role. I'm conscious that I have a narrative and have a bias and have experience based on what I've seen. I'm also noticing that, this is an outlier from my life experience.
That people are getting married so quickly?
That people are getting married so clearly and simply.
Yes.
Like I don't know how to explain it, but it just seemed very clear and straightforward and worked. And maybe, it's love as well, but it's also maybe the frameworks that, whatever, I don't know the details around how they approach sex and sexuality, but the frameworks that they used worked really well for them, and they were both had the same, intentions and goals, and it just kind of connected. I don't know where necessarily I'm going with that, but that was the frame of my thinking and why I'm so curious about the tie between the two.
Well, I mean, religion is a curious thing, and religion works for a lot of people as well. Look, of course, everything has their negative sides, and we've seen that from religious groups. But I think one of the reasons why I also have a successful career is because religion is being pushed away by a lot of people too. Yeah. We don't, like back in the day, we used to follow religion as a framework for how to live our lives. And because of some of the negative and challenging and traumatic impacts that religion can have on people, it's being rejected a lot more. So people are needing to find a way to live their life and a framework, and that's why they're seeing psychologists and therapists and, people who can tell them, hey, like, what you're doing is normal and what you're doing is okay. Yeah. So everything is intricately linked, but also extremely complex and layered. There is no one right way to do things. And I think it's good that you're questioning all of this stuff. I think it's good you're asking the questions. It's working for you. It sounds like your mind is being opened quite a bit.
Definitely. I mean, it's a wave that I go through different directions with, and look, I think at the core of it, when it comes to sex, from my experience, it's just like be as honest as you can, and be as thoughtful as you can, and
ask for consent.
Of course.
No, I'm joking.
God damn.
No. I totally agree with you. And I also think what you're saying is very healthy. It's also a very common thing for people to question, especially people who are seeking help for sexual concerns. They might be seeing a therapist or a doctor or someone, asking questions, but they don't realize that every single person has their own internal biases.
Yeah.
And so, my job is to be non-biased, and I really am, because I've been doing this for a long time, and also my view of sexuality has always been extremely open and curious.
Yeah.
But of course there are things where I'm like, there have been things along the way, like, how does that work? Things I don't necessarily understand.
What's an example of that?
Oh, just certain kinks, for example. Of course, it's very difficult when you're working with people who have caused harm to others to understand where that comes from. But you learn about that along the way. There are some certain like kinks and fetishes that I'm like, okay, how did that come about? So I research it. I want to learn more and more and more. I'm like thirsty for more.
Is it true that, I read this somewhere and I don't know if it's a fact or not, but a lot of sexual fetishes tend to come from something based in your childhood where you were out of control, and then it's your way of creating, like working with it in a controlled environment as an adult? Is that a thing?
Look, there are many reasons why fetishes come about, and fetishes aren't bad. They're just different, and I think they've been really misunderstood. I think we're in a world now where a lot of fetishes are being explored with much more of an open mind, which is awesome. With some fetishes, for example, if they're causing a person distress, or they're feeling like, I don't actually like being in this environment, or it could harm someone, you can actually work with them and like retrain the brain to find pleasure in other things, or it's not necessarily something that you have to lean towards.
How would you do that? Like what would it
lots of different types of therapy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite complex, so it's probably not for the podcast.
So very deep. It gets very deep in detail. I don't want also
people to be going away and doing it themselves.
Yeah. Seek professional advice. Don't try this at home.
Do it at home. Don't go on YouTube.
I mean, try it at home, but don't try it at home.
Do it with a therapist first. It takes a little bit of like unpacking.
Sure, for sure. Monogamy is an interesting one as well from my experience. I went through a moment in time where I began to explore that.
Being monogamous or being non-monogamous?
Exploring non-monogamy. I read the book Sex at Dawn, which, have you read that book? And it confused me a lot. And then it's interesting. I went into my relationship at the time then was at odds with where my head was at, and it wasn't navigated in a healthy way by any means. And, that relationship ended because of that. I won't go into details, but what do you think the role of monogamy versus non-monogamy is in society at the moment?
I think right now the landscape is changing more around the awareness side of things, and you're a really good example of that, right? You're learning more about non-monogamy, and also you're learning about the history, and you're like, how did I not know this beforehand? Like, there's such a vast, long history that's quite detailed.
Yeah.
And I'm just learning about it now. Am I behind? And the truth is you're not.
Yeah.
Non-monogamy has been around for such an incredibly long time, and it is very, very normal for quite a bit of the population.
The French have a term for it?
Yes,
what's the term?
Yeah. Oh,
I don't
remember. But I think it's like non-monogamy can mean different things. And I think that There's polyamory, there's don't ask, don't tell. There's
Wait, what?
don't ask, don't tell. I won't ask what you're doing, so don't tell me what you're doing.
Interesting.
It's like an agreement.
That's a thing.
Yeah, it's an agreement.
Okay.
It's more what the French do, I would say.
I don't want to know.
It's like,
Come home,
you do your thing,
pick up the kids.
But don't embarrass me.
Yeah,
don't cause harm to this relationship.
Yeah.
If that's how we want to do our thing, we do it.
Yeah.
There's also keys in the bowl, there's swinging, there's sex clubs, there's parties. Yeah. There's so many different types of non-monogamy that people are exploring.
Yeah.
And I think because there have been some, people who are more well-known, some celebrities that have been talking about it with more of an open dialogue, people are going, wow, if they can talk about it, does that mean it's okay for me to explore this as well?
Yeah.
And that's great. As long as you're not causing harm, which with non-monogamy, there will be times where people cause harm. It is what it is. It's just like any relationship, you will end up having difficulties.
Yeah.
I think as long as you are well educated in what non-monogamy means and what you are agreeing on with someone, that's the best way to go. I mean, look, I've met so many, mainly men actually, who are like, no, I'm poly or I'm open, and they have no idea what they're actually talking about. And I'm like, come on, you just want to fuck around basically.
Yeah.
You can do that, but don't try and gaslight people by putting a label on it, right?
So what is a healthy way of being non-monogamous in a potential relationship?
Well, both partners have to have a consenting view of what it is.
So you sit down, you talk about...
Not necessarily. It just has to be agreed on. It doesn't have to be verbal.
There's no written contracts.
No. You're asking a very complex question, right? It's not so straightforward.
Yeah.
It's not like I can be... for some people, it might just be a suggestion and someone goes, I don't want to know about it.
Okay.
Right? It is so individualized, and I can't simmer it down to a basic explanation.
Yeah.
But, it's like infidelity. That would be an example of non-monogamy that is not ethical.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because it's a breach of the social agreement between the parties.
It's a breach of trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the second layer of, if you've agreed to something on a relational or social level, then the trust is broken because you don't know if the word is valid. Yeah. Okay. So basically, the goal here is to kind of get some basic frameworks in place for people that are listening.
For the podcast, so people can go away and learn?
Yeah, exactly.
Then just get curious about it. If you have a question, go away and research it.
Yeah.
Don't do it based off what I'm saying on this this podcast and the content that we're talking about here is more of an explanation. It's not a framework, right? A framework is actually having a 360 view of an individual's life and how they as an individual could navigate that.
Yeah.
What I say to you could be very different from the next person.
Okay.
What happens in your life is different to my life, is different to my best friend's life, my colleague's life. There is a framework that is curated based off your individual circumstances.
Yeah. On the foundational level, it's trust, though. Maintaining trust, however that looks. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to new terms.
I like the idea, though.
Yeah, I mean,
it doesn't work like
I'm
that.
Gonna try. I'm gonna try my best. I'm an engineer. It's just how do I turn this into a spreadsheet? If this, then that. When I was researching. This is going to make me giggle because I don't know, I'm like a child. I learned of a new term called vulva owners.
Yes.
Run me through what this is and what it means for the broader context of the human sexual experience right now.
You don't have to include this, but what do you think it is?
Oh, God. I only learnt about it yesterday, so I haven't really had too much time to think about it.
Well, I'll give you what it would be for yourself. You're a penis owner. Yeah. You have a penis. Wow. What would a vulva owner be?
I know what it is.
What is it?
Someone who has a vulva.
Yes, oh my God.
I guess that went without...
I can see that religion coming through.
I guess that went without saying, but...
Someone who has a vulva. It doesn't have to be a woman. It's just someone who has a vulva, right?
Okay.
There are people who might not identify as a woman who have a vulva.
Yeah.
And it's the same as, being a penis owner, it's not just men who have a penis. And that's why in my content, which I assume you were looking at, maybe.
That's how
someone had to do some research.
What is a vulva?
Yes,
I may have Googled that.
Yes, that's okay. It's very normal. The reason why I talk about it in that way is because I have to be inclusive.
Yeah.
People get angry at me. Okay. Why are you, saying vulva owner when you could just say women? And it's like, not every woman has a vulva.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like there are people who identify as women who might have a penis, for example.
Yeah.
We also, there's so many variations in terms of how we identify, how our body is constructed. And look, when it comes to a vulva owner or a penis owner, it's just talking mainly about like the assigned sex at birth. Okay. So if you identify with being a male, you're assigned, and you have a penis, your assigned sex is a male, and you identify as a male. That's your gender. I have a vulva. I identify as a woman, so I am a lady, a woman. But there are people who have some variations, and I want to make sure everyone is included in my content.
Gotcha.
Or we have more distinction around, who is impacted by these words that I'm saying on there.
Yeah. Okay.
Great question, though.
Sure. Thank you. The definitions of the words that we use impact the culture as well. So it's important to think about what we're actually saying and how we're saying it.
Do you know what a vulva is?
You get the general concept.
Okay. I'm sure you've looked at one in your time.
Me, no. Mum, don't watch this episode.
Oh my God, he might have had sex.
I'm going to hell.
Yes. Yeah. Wonder if this will make the cut. But.
It will make the cut. This is all good.
Look, the vulva is like all the skin that touches the underwear for someone who has one.
I actually didn't know that. I would never have said that. Yeah. I didn't know that.
It's what we call like the flaps as well. So you have the labia majora, which is like the biggest skin between, not the biggest skin, sorry, you'll have to edit this.
It's fine.
The labia majora is the skin between the legs and the labia minora, or the vaginal opening. The labia minora is the kind of the inner flaps that are just next to the vaginal opening, and the labia majora. And then the clitoris is part of the vulva as well.
So it's just the whole thing, basically.
Yeah, and then the vagina opening is at like the base of the vulva.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the simple part was whatever touches the underwear.
Yeah, there we go. It's all the stuff that touches your underwear, all the skin.
Really simple way to approach it.
I'm going to bring you my book to read.
Please.
Yay.
I love it. So I don't know why it's funny.
Do you want to take a break?
No, we're good. No, it's fun.
Okay.
So moving back away from the specifics, what's the biggest challenge you're seeing when it comes to sex and connection in our current modern world with your patient's experience, considering social media, considering dating apps, and considering this like amplitude of choice that in my mind is potentially a trap more than a positive?
What do you mean?
Well, you go first and then
I want to know what the trap is.
Well, the trap is that when, there's, I'm going to paraphrase and probably butcher, but, there's studies done in the past where, I think there's studies done in the past. Let me refer that. I may have made this up.
Don't say that then. If you don't know, then don't say that.
Okay.
Cut it out. Just say, I've heard in the past.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't cut it out, but it's good. It's good to be called out here. So I've heard in the past that when you get somebody and you give them, say, like a menu of 20 items and then they pick something, they tend to be less happy with their choice. And maybe if they had 3 or 4 items and then chose from that. So the idea that like what I've got, instead of working on what I've got here, I will leave and look for something that might be better down the line.
Oh, you're talking about partners,
relationships, connection. Yeah, that whole
like the grass is greener.
Yeah,
not sexual activities.
I guess more relationships. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's a trap. I think the biggest challenge, and I think it's been clear also during our conversation, is lack of education.
Yeah.
Around your body, your choices, sexuality, gender, partners, preferences.
Yeah.
I think it's actually great that we have, more and more education popping up. Is it all necessarily correct? No. And that's a dangerous thing. People who are uneducated talking in a way where they have the facts when they don't actually have the facts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gaslighting going on in the education system.
Yeah.
And I think, the reason I wrote a book, it's called The Sex Ed You Never Had. And it's for people who've never had sex ed, especially adults, because it's the main thing people come into my office with is questions around sexuality and relationships and their bodies. They don't know what their menstrual cycle is. They don't know what ovulation is, or, fertility, their options, contraception.
So this is all in the book?
All of it's in the book.
So we'll add it to the show notes.
Yeah, because, we've got to learn somehow. And I think if you look at TikTok, there's information on there, but there's a lot of inaccurate information on there, right? And there's a lot of people who get sponsorships who are more interested in the money over the actual facts.
Yeah.
And that's a really challenging thing as well.
Yeah.
I met someone who was studying sex coaching. We don't have the framework for sexology and sex coaching are different. And this person just was so much more interested in how I earned money and my sponsorships than actually asking questions about how to help people. And that to me is a red flag.
Yeah.
So it's become much more of a popular profession, mine. And I know that the people that I've spoken to have really good intentions, but aren't necessarily, they might not have the means to get the right education around it, or they are not, I don't know, they might provide education that might be inaccurate sometimes because they found it through maybe outdated sources, for example. Yeah. So I think that it's great that we have a lot more education, and there are some amazing sexologists, relationship therapists, people who are providing information for free. It's so much work being a content creator.
It is a lot, yeah.
It's so much work. A huge part of my job is working my ass off so people who can't afford to see me actually have accurate information.
Yeah.
And that's taxing.
Yeah.
It's also really hard when you get people sliding into your DMs who are like, I can't afford a session. And then they tell you these really heavy things that they're going through, and you can't do that. You can't be there for everyone because my job is to continuously give out energy to people. Yeah. That's all I do. It's hard. It's very, very hard, especially when you're an introvert, especially when you're an empath. I think, and I'm really lucky, I've got an amazing community around me, and I've got a great therapist. I can afford a therapist. Not everyone has those means, especially when you're starting out in this profession, to be able to afford that.
Yeah, for sure. So, So basically, just to recap the point, because the question was the challenges around sex and connection in the modern world based on your experiences, but your experiences are mainly through lack of education, and people can get better educating themselves generally through, would you say, content or reading studies? But, you also mentioned that content can be a bit challenging because you don't know necessarily who's saying the content.
Yeah, I think as long as you're following content creators that you can fact check, we have great books and podcasts that are out there.
Yeah.
We have, I think the landscape is changing with AI as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that it's necessarily correct. In fact, there's a lot of dangerous things that happen with AI, and I'm not anti-AI. I'm very pro-AI, actually.
Yeah.
But I think that there are a lot of ways to get education. And I think, the biggest challenge is finding that safe space that you feel like you belong in. You know, a lot of people tell me I don't often get negative things on my Instagram because I don't put my personal opinions on my Instagram. I only put out education and then some fun photos so people know I have a life. Because, you know, therapists are also people too, right? But in saying that, once you start to put out your personal opinions, it might be wrong.
Pick a side,
it might be
challenging.
wrong. Yeah, so I want to make sure I include everyone in my content.
Yeah.
And whether they like it or not, they can decide whether they align with it.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like your goal here is to help. So you want to keep it as open as possible when you want to help. Sure. What's your thoughts around pornography?
It's a very hot topic right now.
Let's maybe narrow that a little bit. I mean, I'm going to preface this with I have probably a negative bias on pornography. You're really getting a framework of me here. Right?
I love it. It's great. It's not wrong. It's
just
fine.
is what it is.
Yeah. You're curious, and that's the best thing.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good. So, yeah, what are your thoughts around pornography, and how have you observed it impacting your patients negatively, and is there a way that can be a positive contributor to life as well?
Porn's a very hot topic right now. I want to say that porn is for entertainment and not for education.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of us learnt about sexuality through porn. I mean, I learnt about sex through porn.
Yeah, same.
And I think you just learn. I think, look, currently now, we're talking about porn in a very open-minded way because we're also seeing how much the porn industry is changing. And it's, you know, I have quite a few friends who are porn stars as well, and they're in very safe environments. I'm not saying that everyone who's in the porn industry is in a safe environment though. And I'm not saying porn is the right way to have sex, you know. We don't often see porn that has consent in it or protection or, you know, activities that are more loving per se. You know, we can often see, I think primarily in the past we've seen porn through like a male gaze or maybe even sometimes an aggressive or violating gaze.
Where do you think that came from?
Oh, I don't know. I don't have the facts on that. I'm not the expert on pornography. So I'm not going to speak on that. I think it's more that we have to remember that sex education should have been provided by schools, by our primary caregivers. And because it wasn't, we have gone towards porn, and we're also angry at porn because we've had to go towards it for education. There's a huge amount of transformation in the porn industry, and a lot of porn is very safe now, you know. Well, a lot of the porn, I guess, it is consumed. However, there's definitely environments that are challenging.
How does it impact the brain of people?
I'm not the expert on it. I don't have the facts. It's not my research area.
Fair enough.
I deal mainly in trauma and in women and more psychiatry issues than pornography. One of my staff might have better.
Be curious.
I need to read up on it again.
It's the reason I ask and I tie it in because, you know, as you said, you learned from from sex through porn, and I was the same. And then a few years ago, I completely cut it. So there's no porn whatsoever. And from my experience after that fact, my appreciation for women just generally went through the roof. My ability to navigate sexual situations became much more gentler and considered because, again, what you see is what you then model and
it might not necessarily be healthy.
It might not be healthy. And I'm not saying, I was aggressive by any means, but there's definitely been a significant shift
in a positive direction.
In a much, much more positive direction. And the reason why I mention it as a potential negative is the world that I'm noticing is, everyone's got a vape in their hand 24/7. Like everyone's scrolling on Instagram 24/7, just getting all these hits of dopamine, and porn kind of goes into that bucket for me.
It does.
And I'm not sure, from my experience, I feel like the focus on those kind of activities are really hurting us and our general happiness.
Yeah, look, I don't disagree with you, and I think that it's amazing that you've noticed that for yourself. And I think that your experience is not uncommon. There's a lot of people who are cutting out pornography, and there's a lot of people who are also impacted by the way that they have learnt about sex through pornography. Even like a lot of women I know, and around the way they feel like they should be treated, of course, has been impacted by that. And I think especially if you're not having real life experiences with people who are considerate and kind and gentle and able to say, hey, I don't like that, or hey, maybe we should try something a little bit different. Yeah. If you don't have those examples, then it's very difficult for sure. Yeah. Porn and the dopamine hits that you can get from it can impact you, and I guess your arousal process as well, because watching porn and going straight for like climax and orgasm, you do miss what's happening in your body, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You also, I think it can be harder to be aroused by normal day-to-day erotic experiences.
Yeah, like nowadays, if I'm driving and there's like a bumpy road, you're
ready to go. He's ready to roll. That's cool. I wonder, people will be like, how do I do that?
You just get a wagon and go down the shitty back road.
I love that.
Well, look, great sex at its core is about connection. So how can somebody improve their ability to connect deeply with others and in turn create a better sex life from your experience?
I think you have to start with connecting with yourself first before you connect with others. Others can teach you how to connect with yourself, especially if you don't like certain elements or you're, feel ashamed of yourself in certain ways. Others can help you feel more at ease and learn how to love yourself, your body. Because I think there's been a lot of conversation around, if you don't love yourself, who else is going to love you, that kind of stuff. And
you think that's valid?
No, I think like you've got to sometimes have other people. It's more the narrative around like, if you don't love yourself first, how do you expect others to love you? Sometimes you learn to love yourself with others there, right? Like I'm sure you might have been in a relationship where you gained confidence and you gained perspective and care for yourself because someone else treated you with that same level of respect, maybe more respect than you treated yourself with. That is a really prime example of others can love you so you can love yourself.
Yeah.
I think if you can learn how to be aware and focus on your body and your preferences and not push them away, not be scared of them, it will definitely be beneficial. I think in terms of connecting with others, we've got to work through our internal biases. We've got to learn how to regulate ourselves and the way that we communicate. And I think we've got to be kinder. I think that the landscape of relationships and how we talk about ourselves and others is changing dramatically. I can't even keep up with it right now. It's challenging. You don't know what people want so much right now. But I do think that being empowered enough to question and to create safety is the main way that you can connect with yourself and with other people, and hopefully that will roll into your relationships and your erotic life.
So curiosity and respect and consideration, and understanding yourself and what you like, what you don't like, what you need, what you don't need, and then that'll naturally just create an openness to others.
Totally. And just being kind. Like, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation. I have patients come in who have a penis. They're a penis owner. And they're like, yes, that's you. And they've come in and they've been like, I have challenges with erections now because I lost my erection one time. Maybe they were drunk or something. Yeah. And someone's been like, what? You can't even get it up? Is it me? What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Like, that is my morbid fear. Oh my Lord.
Yeah. But like, it's normal to lose an erection. Like, whatever. It's not about someone else. It just might be you've lost your erection for a certain reason. It might be medication. It might be alcohol. It might be you're tired, whatever. Yeah. You might not be that into it. But that's not a safe space then, right? You're going to start getting nervous every time you see that person about how they're going to react to your body. Yeah. And I think that if we can go, that's okay, babe. Like, there's so many other things we can do. Let's just have fun. Let's like find some pleasure. Isn't that nicer than someone criticizing you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think when someone's criticizing, they're putting their personal fears and concerns onto the situation. And you're exactly right there. When they say, you can't get it up, it's more like, am I not good enough? Yeah.
No one wants to be criticized.
Yeah.
You know, we even like when people argue, like, it's okay to argue. You've just got to do it in a way that is safe. And we've all got to learn. Like, I'm not saying I'm an angel. I've definitely been an absolute moron in an argument, for a long time. But my focus for my life is to continually grow and elevate. And that's because I want to, be a really good therapist, a good person, a good friend, a good partner, good family member, and it's not easy to do that sometimes. But also, like, if I don't grow, like, how do I expect anyone to trust in me? You've got to lead the way. And that means that I'm always investing in myself and how I communicate with people and how I understand people. And it's very hard sometimes when you have others around you who don't do that. You worry. I worry that I will outgrow people, and I have outgrown people. Yeah. And that's not through lack of trying to connect with them. It's just life, right? You will start connecting with other people that are more aligned with the way that you live your life.
Yeah, that's a hard one to shed, just knowing that people have been great in your life, but they don't have a place necessarily as much anymore. It's really tough one. I've definitely experienced it a couple of times. And
we don't go into friendships expecting them to finish, right?
No, don't go into anything expecting them to finish. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe a job.
Yeah. Unless you love the job.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't want this to ever finish.
No, I love the podcast. It's a good podcast.
So you mentioned briefly, by the way, thank you for sharing. That was, that little monologue was great. Thank you for sharing. You mentioned briefly on internal biases as well earlier. What are some examples of internal biases? And because I hear that and I think, it just goes to a question mark in my brain. I'm like, I don't know.
You have internal biases.
Of course.
Yeah, we all do.
So what are some examples of that, and how could someone be able to understand them more?
The internal bias could be old people don't have sex.
I'm a fucking child. I just go to this image.
You're seeing people that are older having sex now.
Literally in my brain.
Your grandparents?
No one specific, but just anyway.
Yeah, they do it.
It's wild.
And they're having more fun than people our age are because they've had more experience, the pressure's off, they can't get pregnant, like they're just there to have fun and pleasure. It's not about penetration or orgasm at that stage. It's about connecting.
It's vibing.
Yeah, straight vibing.
Just vibing. So what can we take? What can we
There's
learn?
a bias for you.
What can we learn from the elderly having sex that we can take into our lives as younger people?
That your way of viewing the world doesn't mean it's the only way of viewing the world, and that everyone's got like a different way of being, and everyone's got, like these private lives that you don't know about. Yeah. And I think when it comes to biases, you're assuming that your reality is the reality for a lot of other people. And it's not. You just don't know enough about others. And I think that one thing that I am very good at is not being surprised by things, because I've heard so many things that I'm like, wow, okay, cool. You just learn to be more open and less judgmental and realize that your way is not the highway. There's definitely been times in my life where I've been an absolute know-it-all, like a totally silly. Like, it's so silly to assume that you know what is happening for other people. And it's totally silly to assume that what you're thinking is correct.
Yeah. Well, you don't know.
You don't know.
You don't know.
And other people teach you so much.
Yeah. Travel teaches you a lot. The more that I travel, the more I realize I don't know shit. And so much of what I think is correct comes purely from, again, our biopsychosocial experiences, which change based on where you're from and all of those elements. So
what we grew up learning about doesn't mean it's like the way. Like, there's so much going on in the world, so many people that are way smarter than us that can teach us so many more things.
How do you not let the idea that there is so much out there and you won't know whether your path is correct not overwhelm you, when, especially maybe with sex and stuff?
I think you've just got to trust the process and keep trying to grow and keep trying to learn. I think it's when you become stagnant that those things will overwhelm you. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, that moves into my next question pretty well, which was, just for our non-Australian listeners, my personal experience with sex ed as a child was the Harold van. Was it the van? There was like the van that would come.
The elephant?
Yeah, there's this elephant van that would come into schools, and it would explain the basics of sex ed from like primary school area. And then in secondary school we had sex ed classes, which I wasn't actually allowed to go into because my mum thought it was a bad idea. Yes. Again, the religion side of things. So how can parents approach the topic of sex and relationships with their children at like an age appropriate level and, informative manner?
I think you've got to learn more, right? Like, I think you've got to learn more when you decide that you're going to have children, or your reality is that you're having a child. That's when you have to commit to being the best parent that you can be. And being, in my opinion, which is not everyone's opinion, the best parent that you can be is one that is encouraging growth and learning and arming their child with the tools to be able to navigate the world. And sex is a part of the world. Yeah. And, from my perspective, I mean, in Holland you learn like about consent and about asking, can I hug you? And saying like accepting or declining. You learn about different kind of family dynamics. You learn about caregivers, same-sex relationships. You learn all about that from a very young age. Like from age 4, you're starting to learn about, is it okay if I give you a hug? So consent, consent is learned.
Was this
very,
always
very
like a long time ago?
This is not always this isn't my reality. This is just the way that they have learned. Actually, it's a sexologist that I have met whilst I was living over in Holland, who wrote a lot of the books for education for schools there. And I think that that's really beneficial because you then start with a good foundation of, gentle practices that respect other people's autonomy and safety. And then you can learn about your body at some stage. And I don't know about you, but I didn't learn about anatomy really. Like I
learned about it today.
You didn't know about the vulva, so I don't think it happened. But I think like we have to learn that stuff. Wouldn't it be nice if you actually knew what was going on in your body? Your biology, the way that you're like, for example, 50% of the population will have their menstrual cycle. 100% of the population should know about the menstrual cycle. But alas, it's not the reality. I think that we should learn as much as possible. And I think that we can teach our children that early on, we can also teach them that for safety reasons as well, especially when there is the risk of being in unsafe scenarios. And, sometimes that stuff will not be able to be avoided, but what I would want as a parent is to be able to go, I tried my best in terms of arming my child with the right tools to hopefully protect themselves in times where I can't protect them. And that means knowing the right labels for their genitalia, their body parts, so that they can say, like, this is my body, this is where I have touched myself or someone else has touched me. I also think, learning about sex and safe sex and how to treat another person, that is all stuff that we should be teaching our children.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know it's daunting. I know it's scary. It's one thing that I get quite a bit of pushback on when I do public talks, because people are like, should I be teaching my kids? They're 15. I'm like, you should have taught them years ago. Like, it's too late. Kids are having sex at age 13 these days. It's like, the landscape is changing. We need to keep up. Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I was like, would have been grade 3 or something. And I would, my first interaction of like men, relationships and stuff was my best friend going behind the tool shed with a girl and kissing her. And
naughty.
Very naughty.
Very
Definitely
naughty.
not allowed. And, that took at least another 10 years for me to.
It's nice. It's cute. Look, everyone's reality is different.
Yeah, exactly. So moving forward we'll do one more question and then we'll get into like a rapid fire and I'll let you get out. I'll get out of your hair.
No, not at all.
So how can couples maintain intimacy and passion in long-term relationships, like especially when there's potential like routine and monotony and that sort of stuff? And what's your experience there?
I mean, there's so many things that you can do. There's some great books as well if people want to read into this. I think Emily Nagoski has some great work. Esther Perel, of course.
I love Esther Perel.
Love Esther Perel. Legend.
Yeah.
But I think first and foremost, you have to maintain your own life. Like, you have to have your individual interests. For example, if you and I were in love, we would have fallen in love because we saw each other out and, maybe I saw you when you were at work. But then what if you stopped having those individual interests and you were there all the time, and then my interest became your interest, and then we're doing the same thing all the time, right? It kind of, you don't really have a bridge to cross there. It's hard to maintain some mystery when you know exactly what the other person's doing all the time. Yeah. I think also you have to prioritize time for intimacy. Yeah. And I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, scheduling, but I don't know about you, but I'm a workaholic. I have so many things on. I do get challenged with fatigue as well. I have ADHD. Life's not always spontaneous, especially when, you're traveling or you have kids or, we have some of the highest burnout rates in the world in Australia. Really? If you're burnt out, it's not really a recipe for eroticism, right? And so a huge part of my job is getting people to a place where they are physically and emotionally and mentally at a good enough level to even be having intimacy with someone else, let alone someone in a long-term relationship where all those amazing endorphins have worn off and you're not oh my God, I can't believe I found you.
Are you still here?
You're like, oh God, I wish he would go away for the weekend. I need some time by myself. But I think you have to look at your partner with kindness and with curiosity, because we also think that we know so much about our partners. And honestly, everyone has this crazy internal world that we know nothing about. We only know what they share with us if they feel safe enough. Yeah. When you're in a long-term relationship and you've had fights and you've, gone through challenges together, that level of safety, is compromised. Yeah. And that's why I love when people are invested in individual and couples work as well.
Yeah, I think couples work is great. The next relationship I get into, it'll be a big part of it for me, I think.
Preventative.
Yeah, preventative.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just
we all have good intentions in mind, but life is challenging.
Yeah, exactly. So basically just live your own individual lives, and that in itself creates some form of mystery and excitement in the relationship.
Yeah, and also just like have variety. Like don't always do the same thing. Have the same menu every single time you get in the bedroom.
Yeah.
Like I love pasta and dessert like tiramisu, but I don't want to have like spaghetti bolognese and tiramisu every single time we go out for dinner, right? Like we need to have different entrees, mains and desserts, different menu.
Yeah.
Because again, it's very hard to look forward to something that you know what it's going to taste like and you know what the experience will be like. You need to have other things. Even like, you know, different positions, different locations in the house, different times, sex toys, like
different people.
Could be. Yeah, it could be depending on your situation.
I'm kidding.
Sometimes it's the easiest way to cure a sexual like block is to find someone new, but
that doesn't solve
it doesn't solve problems if you love the partner that you have, you know? So I think there's a lot you can do. You just have to think outside the box, and you also have to be in an environment that is conducive to healthy sexuality. If you're fighting a lot, if there's resentment, if there is, you know, a stack of unmet needs there, it's hard to be safe and to be erotic with that person if you don't feel like you can be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Damn,
we're complex, aren't we? I just need that one little.
God, I wish it was so easy.
It's not easy, is it?
I know.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, let's jump into some rapid fires. I'd love to learn a little bit more about you. We've spoken specifically about, you know, your role and your work and your views around a lot of interesting elements. But just taking a step back, a part of this podcast as well looks at business and looks at, you know, the pillars are health, wealth and wisdom, and wealth is the business side of things. So, and from what I can see, you've built an amazing business. You've got a bunch of solid staff. I'm sure you're doing pretty good in amounts of revenue. Your social media's nearly at 200,000. Instagram, I don't know what your TikTok's like, but
hopeless,
non-existent. Okay.
Hopefully it'll be good by the time this is released.
Yeah. Well, you got 8 weeks.
I'll work on it.
I love it. Well, you know, so all of that's doing quite well. So it'd be great to understand you a little bit more and talk about some maybe habits and ideas. And so getting stuck into it, what's the biggest thing that you've changed your mind on over the last 2 years?
Control. I have let go of a lot of control. I've handed it over. I really think that there is no point trying to do something that you're not good at. I don't want to, like, I cannot organize myself. Like, you asked me to book a flight. I'm on the wrong day, or wrong time, to the wrong city, wrong country sometimes. Like,
really? Has that happened?
Yes, of
That's
course.
Hilarious.
Of course. I've forgotten my passport. Or it's been expired. Like, I'm so lucky. I've got the most incredible manager. She's my best friend. I've got an incredible EA who's just, been thrown completely into the deep end. My team is amazing. And I could not do this job without them. I honestly, my companies would not exist without them. I have got a lot of help and advice from my parents who are entrepreneurs. They're in building and construction. And I grew up with this business mindset. I've seen them start multiple businesses, and I've seen the way that they have succeeded and what they've also failed in or been challenged in. I think the best thing about me is that I think I'm a really good boss in terms of people feel safe coming to me, and they can share their lives with me.
It's definitely on brand.
It's also sometimes challenging because it does make it difficult to have hard conversations.
Sure.
So I'm working this year on having people help me with that kind of stuff. And just coming in and look, I don't know, I have a good idea about business. I think I've got a bit of a natural knack, but I think that there's so much more that I can do. And now I'm just asking for help in that.
Yeah, cool. What's the kindest thing anyone's ever done for you? And you can't say your mum giving birth to you.
No, I would never. Like my mum, like, yes, that's a kind thing. It's not the first thing that came to mind because giving birth doesn't mean it's going to necessarily be in a great life. I think there's so many kind things people have done for me, like given me chances that I've asked so many people for that weren't given to me. Like the reason why I'm a good sexologist is because my mentor, Dr. Ingrid Pinash, shout out, she's in Holland. She taught me so much, really gave me a foundation for hard work. She kicked my ass so hard. Yeah. I worked so hard when I was younger because I wanted to be a good therapist. I don't want to be subpar at what I do.
Yeah.
And, I've had some other great mentors and colleagues over my time who've taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And will still answer my call at any time of day or night when I need them.
Yeah.
I think I've had some great, I've had a lot of love in my life. I've definitely had challenges, but I've had more love than I think most people will ever have. My family, here, but extended, I live with my auntie and uncle, my cousins in Holland. My family is phenomenal. I could call them in trouble from anywhere in the world and one of them would be on a flight to come get me.
Yeah.
It's that, and that's what I want to create. And I think that's what I create for people around me is that confidence that they never have to doubt whether I will be there for them or not, no matter what we're doing. And I've been given the gift of great communication, The people that have loved me, whether it be partners or family or friends, my friends are I would not be the person I am and that warm person without them, especially when you go through life and your job is to take on people's trauma.
Yeah.
You can leave you feeling sad or bitter or angry that other people have gone through such horrible things. I always have somewhere to go to be myself, to relax, to decompress. And I feel that is the greatest gift that people have given me, chances and love.
Yeah. No. A little side note, because this is quite curious. How do you go about managing taking on all of the trauma and without it breaking you?
It can be difficult sometimes, burnout is something that I've experienced multiple times in my life. And, there are days, even a few weeks ago, I had this heavy day where things come out, you get presented with one thing in therapy and then my job, the thing that I want to do is to help others. And because I've been called a bit of a witch in my time, I know I can feel when it's not a therapy instinct. It's an innate thing that I have where people will tell me what's going on with them, even if they've never told someone before in 20 years. And that is such a blessing for me. Yeah. And I would never change that knack that I have. Because I want to be that person for others. Yeah. But the burnout experience, and especially my lifestyle's not normal. I travel a lot. I'm, in different states every week, if not different countries, at least once a month or so. I'm sometimes my own worst enemy. You learn what works for you to manage it and what doesn't. I have a therapist that I see every single week who is phenomenal, and I think that I've been seeing this one for 6 months and she's great. We've had an argument before. She challenges me. I don't want a yes person. Yeah. I want someone to go, hey. No. Yeah. No. I want someone to be hey, that's good, but maybe your behavior was passive aggressive. Okay, yeah, you're right. I want someone to call me out. And I'm very lucky to have her. But my friends are also extremely clever, extremely wise, and they're not there to coddle me. They're there to look after me, but in every sense of the term, they're also there to say, hey, could do a little bit better here, or I don't like it when you do that, that kind of thing. But yeah, also like I come home, I have a beautiful dog as well. He is like the love of my life. You just realize, like, I don't know, when you've got this little creature like coming to bed with you every night who's so innocent, so happy to see you, you're just like, oh, life's pretty good. You know, lucky me. Yeah. Yeah,
I love that. Okay, cool. And what advice would you give yourself from 10 years ago?
33 now. 23. Oh my God. You don't know anything. You don't know anything. Like, I think at 23, I thought I knew so much.
I thought I knew so much as well.
I was like such a little smart ass.
Same.
Little bitch.
Really?
No, I'm joking. But I was. No, I was a very nice person, but I thought I knew it all. And I thought just because I'd studied and because I'd had a lot of life experience and, you know, had been in so many different, I don't know, countries, and had so many friends that I knew so much. But it's very good to learn that you don't know anything because, and still now I know nothing. Like, I'm constantly surprised by how much people can teach me. And so I say to people, always remain curious and kind in your intentions.
Okay. If you could only recommend one book for someone to have the most impact on their life other than your book, and they can only read one book for their lifetime, but it has to have the most impact possible, what would it be?
Oh, that's a really hard one because everyone needs something different. I don't really have that recommendation.
Other than your book.
Sex Ed You Never Had. No, look, I don't have a recommendation for that because everyone needs something different. Yeah. What I need is something different to what you need.
Yeah.
So, sorry, no recommendations.
No worries. Cool. And is there anything you're excited about at the moment that you'd like the listeners to know about?
Can I plug some other things?
Plug everything. Plug away.
Okay, I've got some fun projects coming out that I'm not allowed to say just yet, but hopefully they'll be out soon. But I think definitely listen to my Audible podcast if you're curious about what I talk about. We record sex therapy sessions, so you're like a fly on the wall. Yeah, so you can listen to other people's questions or concerns, and that's what we all want, right?
Yeah.
We're like nosy, but we're also curious. We want to be normalized. So, sex therapy sessions with Chantelle Otten on Audible. I would definitely listen to that.
I've listened to a couple of Esther Perel's therapy sessions.
Great.
It's wild.
Yeah. Amazing.
Oh my Lord. Yeah. And where can people find you if they're interested in exploring more?
My website is chantelleotten.com, so you can look there, and then it just has all my socials on there. Or on Instagram, I might be shadow banned. So Chantelle _Otten _sexologist. Yeah. Hopefully on TikTok things will be different. It's just Chantelle Otten on there, but go on my website. You'll find all the links there. Yeah, brilliant. And just my last easy question to tie it off. What's the meaning of life? Fucking hell. Love. That's my meaning of life. Like, love. It doesn't have to be romantic. It's just like just trying to find it for yourself and for others is the way to go. Yeah. Don't be so closed off. Like, be open, be vulnerable, learn how to be vulnerable. It's scary. It's very scary. It's very difficult. But your life will be so much better once you are. Yeah. You might lose a few people once you start putting in boundaries as well. Yeah. But you will gain so many more that are better for you. The right ones, yeah. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I ask that question at the end of every episode, and I think 70% of people say love. We need it, right? Yeah. We actually do need it. We need human connection. We need care to be able to survive. Yeah. Yeah. Love you. Love you. Chantelle, thank you for coming on the podcast. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure. Oh, it's been so good. I love getting to sit here with you. And I also love all the YouTube she showed me before this. Yeah. We went on a bit of a tirade. Yeah. And there's so much more I can show you. So we'll get there. Anyone listening that liked this, please give it a like, subscribe, and give the podcast a rating. It helps us a lot. Until next time.